Today we are learning Lekutei Sichos Chelek Yud Aleph Beshalach Beis. This is a Rashi Sicha, which means that it will focus on one Rashi, how to understand the Rashi, how by understanding the Rashi, the entire pasuk is illuminated in an entirely different way, and along the way it will teach us how to learn a Rashi. That every aspect in Rashi is part of the lesson that he is teaching us. Today's Rashi is on Parshas Beshalach. After Moshe Rabbeinu leads the men, Oz Yashir Moshe Uvnei Yisrael, in a shira to Hashem, to thank Hashem for the nisim that occurred on the Yam Suf, Miriam follows suit. It says, the pasuk tells us that also Miriam took her timbrel and led the women, besupim ubimchaylos, with drums or timbrels and in dance. And Miriam is called the Neviah Achos Aaron. And Rashi is going to tell us what is the meaning of the words Haneviah Achos Aaron. We're going to begin at the beginning of the Sicha, page 55. On the pasuk that Miriam, the Neviah, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her with timbrels and with dance. Rashi quotes the words Vatikach Miriam Neviah umefaresh, and he explains where did Miriam say nevuah? When she was still just the sister of Aaron, before Moshe was born. What was her nevuah? What did she say? Amra asida imi shetelid bein chulu. My mother is going to have a son who is going to save the Yidden. And Rashi says K'di'isa b'soita. He references the source in Gemara Masechta Soita. Dover Acher, Rashi then brings a second pirush. Achos Aaron. Why does it say Achos Aaron? Lefisha Masar Nafshi Alea Kishen Itztara. Because he was Moshe Nefesh for her when she became a Mitzeras. He davened to Hashem knowing that it might incur the wrath of Hashem. Therefore, Nikras al Shmoi, she is named after him Achos Aaron. Bepashtos Kavonos Rashi. He letarech kushya pshuta misereres belimud hakosov. Seemingly, the intent of Rashi here is to answer a simple question that arises when learning this pasuk. As the Gemara in Soita, which is referenced in Rashi, actually asks, Achos Aaron v'lo achos Moshe b'tmiyah. Does the pasuk say Achos Aaron and not Achos Moshe? Why? Why does Miriam not called the sister of Moshe? Rashi, and therefore Rashi answers, the purpose of saying Achos Aaron is not to describe Miriam, because then we would have the question, why doesn't it say Achos Moshe, which is also a description for Miriam? The words Achos Aaron are coming as a continuation to the words Haneviah, Shahaisa Neviah, Kishahaisa Dayin Rakachais Aaron, Kaidim Shenoilad Moshe. That she was a Neviah when she was still just a sister of Aaron, before Moshe was even born. And what was the content of the Nevuah? That the Nevuah was that my mother Yocheved is going to have a son who is going to save the Yidden. And then Rashi brings a second explanation. Why she's called Achos Aaron and not Achos Moshe? Because Aaron was Moshe Nefesh for her, so he gets the credit of Miriam being called Achos Aaron. So Bepashtus, at first glance, Rashi is coming to explain the words Achos Aaron. However, if this is merely the entire purpose of Rashi's pirush, this would raise numerous questions. And before we learn the questions inside, I want to make a few introductions about how every detail in Rashi is precise. Number one, the Dibur HaMaschil, the words that Rashi quotes from the pasuk, are precise. Why he picks these words and not other words are part of his pirush. Number two, anything that Rashi brings is going to flow according to Pshutei Shel Mikra. He's not going to add anything extra, nor is he going to bring up things that you would need to understand on a deeper level. Number four, generally Rashi does not bring sources. does not bring the source of his pirush unless there's a reason, unless that pirush, that source is going to enhance Rashi's pirush. And finally, Rashi doesn't usually bring two pirushim. If he does, either he'll say, I'm about to bring two pirushim, or else if he doesn't do that, it's to let us know that each of his pirushim have a difficulty, and that's why he's bringing two. He can't bring just one because the one has a kushya, a difficulty that he therefore has to bring another one. So based on these introductions and these rules, when understanding Rashi, we're going to introduce 6 questions on this basic understanding that we had. So our basic understanding is that Rashi is answering the question, why does it say Achais Aaron? Al pi zeh tzarich lahavin. If that is the entire purpose of Rashi, then we have to understand as follows. Aleph, Lama maitik Rashi atevis vatikach Miriam anaviyah. Harei atevis amachriches es pirushei. Hein achais Aaron shebezeh kosher v'le achais Moshe. The words that Rashi needs to bring are achais Aaron because that's what he's answering. Why does Rashi bring the words vatikach Miriam hanaviyah, seemingly totally irrelevant to the pshat of Rashi? Im kein hoyle Rashi lahatik tevis elu v'lo vatikach Miriam hanaviyah. So Rashi should have just brought the words achais Aaron. And even if you're going to say that Hanaviyah is important, because in the Rashi's Pirush he says Heicha Nisnaba, he certainly did not have to bring the words Vatikach Miriam. Based the second question, Ma Machriach as Rashi lo hidiya kan the Pirush hapshat shel kasu zeh teichen nevuas Miriam. Again, if we only want to know that she's why it says Achais Aaron, and the reason it says Achais Aaron is because it's an explanation for Hanaviyah, then we need to know that she said Nevuah. We don't need to know what the Nevuah was. So why does Rashi bring the content of Miriam's nevuah? All Rashi should have said was, where did she say nevuah? When she was the sister of Aaron. What the nevuah was seems to be superfluous. Gimel idach, conversely, if Rashi does bring the content of the nevuah, what's the source for it in Psutei Shel Mikra, in the basic understanding of the pasuk? Because if Rashi is bringing it in his Pirush, it has to have a source in Psutei Shel Mikra. Daled, our fourth question, Ki Yudua, it is known, in Darkish Rashi L'Tzayin Makar Pirushav, it is not the way of Rashi, it is not common practice for Rashi to bring the source of his Pirushim. If Rashi does bring the source, it's for the purpose of enhancing his explanation on the pasuk. If it was relevant for the basic pshat, then Rashi would have brought it in the context of his pirush. But if it's not megeya for the basic pshat, if the Talmud is quick or well seasoned, he might have a question on the pirush that Rashi brings. So to answer that question of that seasoned student, Rashi brings the source wherever it might be. That by looking over there, your question will be answered. And if this Maimer Chazal is brought to numerous places, and Rashi chooses one of them, then it is the intent of Rashi that only by looking at this one source that Rashi brings down, Yutesef Biur B'Pirush HaKosov will add an explanation in understanding the pasuk. Based on this introduction to number Dalid, and therefore this raises a question on our Rashi. What is the purpose of Rashi to answer in his pshat by mentioning the Makir in Masechta Saita? Additionally, this teaching of Chazal that Miriam said Nevuah when she was a Achais Aaron is brought both in Masechta Megillah and in Masechta Saita. Rashi medayik u'mitzayin l'saita. And nevertheless, Rashi chooses, and specifically in Masechta Saita. according to the regular order, the accepted order of the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Zraim, then Moyed, then Nashim, Megillah is in Moyed, Soita is in Nashim, Megillah comes before Moyed. And yet Rashi skips the source of Megillah and brings the source from Masechta Soita. Shemizah move on from this, it's understood. Shadafka al yedei mad'is from Masechta Soita yitosef bir b'pirushay. That only through looking up the Gemara in Soita, something will be added to his pirush, and we have to know what that is. Number hey, Lama maitik Rashi b'pirushay habeiz es hateves achais arin shekvar kozvam b'pirush aleph. Why does Rashi once again quote the words achais arin? He already mentioned the words achais arin in his first pirush. Why does he mention them again in the second pirush? Should have said davar achar, the second pshat, because Aaron was meiser nefesh, without once again quoting the words achais arin. Vav, the sixth and final question. It has been told to us numerous times that may be base pirushim, that in a case where Rashi brings two pirushim, without introducing the fact that he's going to bring two pirushim, implying that both are equal. If Rashi does not do that, but he brings one after the other, this is a proof that each of the pirushim that Rashi brings has a hardship that the other one does not have. The primary explanation is the first one that Rashi brings, but something is missing, and therefore Rashi is compelled to bring a second one. So in our Rashi, the question is, what is the hardship in each of these two pirushim that Rashi must bring two of them? So these are our 6 questions based on the initial understanding of Rashi. That Rashi is answering the question, why does it say achais Aaron and not achais Moshe? And that's why Rashi tells us that achais Aaron is a hemshech to Hanaviyah. If that is the entire purpose of Rashi, we are left with 6 questions. And therefore we're going to go to Ois Beis, that is going to give us a biur, another explanation, a new understanding in Rashi, that Rashi is not coming to explain to us why it says achais Aaron, rather Rashi is coming to explain to us why the pasuk says Hanaviyah. And the reason this bothers Rashi is because the word Hanaviyah has to either be a description of Miriam, or it has to help understand the story that the pasuk is telling us. And as the Sikha is going to show to us, neither of those things get accomplished with the word Hanaviyah. And therefore the Rashi is bothered by the fact, why does it say the word Hanaviyah in the pasuk? And that's going to be that is the explanation that the Sikha is bringing, that is what's bothering Rashi, and not just the words achais Aaron. So let's see that inside. Abir bekoze. Kavonas Rashi b'pirushay kan hi letaretz. The purpose of Rashi is to answer a question that is bothering him. Aleph, ha-neviya b'hei ha-yediyah. Hainu shenisnaba kvar, heicha nisnaba. First of all, the fact that it says ha-neviya, the prophetess. The prophetess. As if it is something that is known. Where is it known? Beis v'ikir, more importantly, kusha pshuta ha'misereres b'limud ha'tevis shematikam v'tikach Miriam ha'neviya, a simple question that arises on the very words that Rashi brings in his Dibur HaMaschil, v'tikach Miriam ha'neviya. Move on, shekasher ha'teira b'sipur mu'ura. V'sifa teira l'adam shemaskira, if the Torah adds a title to someone mentioned in the pasuk, hareza oy alif lohidiya b'mi medubar. Ki balade ha'teir le'ayuyuna yedim zeis. This is for the purpose of either telling us who the person is, because without this description we would know who the person is, or else to add something, add an understanding, another layer of understanding in the story. In our pasuk, where the Torah is adding the word Hanaviyah to the word Miriam, to the person Miriam, move on, obviously not for the purpose of telling us which Miriam we're talking about. Key, number 1, because we didn't know she was a Neviah. Hanaviyah is not a description to someone if we don't know she's a Neviah. Until this pasuk, we had no idea she was a Neviah. And secondly, v'oid take it from miyad mefurish shehoisa achais Aaron. The pasuk clearly states that she was the sister of Aaron. Shazeh biru gamu, which is a very clear description of who this Miriam is. So we don't need Hanaviah to tell us who Miriam is. Therefore, it must be that telling us Hanaviah is not to describe who she was, but to add something to the story. So therefore it must be that when the Torah says Hanaviah, it's because it's connected and it helps us understand the story of the pasuk just a little bit more. But that also is hard to understand. Because first we have to understand what is a Navi. What is a Naviah? We're going to bring 3 examples as to what it does mean. What does the word Navi mean? The first example is going to tell us that a Navi means someone who knows things that nobody else knows. The second example is that a Navi means someone who knows the future. And the third example is that a Navi means someone who speaks words of teichacha, words of reproach to the people. And he brings 3 sources. We learned in Parshas Vayera when the Eibishter tells Avimelech to return Sarah to her husband Avraham, he says, return the wife of the man, ki navihu, because he is a navi. Or Pirish Rashi explains, ki navihu v'yedea shleina gaita ba, that he's a navi and he knows that you did not come in contact with her. Hainu she'inyan navihu ladas dvarim nistarim, meaning to say that a navi means someone who knows hidden matters. He wasn't there. How does Avram know that Avimelech did not come in contact with Sarah? Because he's a Navi and he knows things that are concealed from everyone else. And in Parshas Vayetze, when the pasuk says that Leah had a 3rd son and she named him Levi, Hapam Yilava Ishi Elai, because I gave him 3 sons. So Rashi says the Imois Nevios Hayu, V'Yoides, the Imois were Nevios, they were prophetesses, and they knew that there were going to be 12 Shvatim, and that therefore she thought that each one of the wives has to have 3 sons. So the fact that she knew the future, that there were going to be 12 Shvatim, teaches us that a Navi means Yedias Ha'asid Lavei, knowing the future. In Parshas Rashi and Vayera, when the Eibishter sends Moshe Rabbeinu to Paran, and he tells him, so Rashi says, the lashon of nevuah means someone who announces and speaks to the people words of techacha. Nimtza. Shegeder a navi hu. It comes out from this that the concept of a navi is 1, yedei advarim nistarim, that he knows hidden matters, or yedei hasidos, he knows the future, or medaber umashmiya la'am divrei techachis, speaks words of reproach to the people. V'im kain, based on this meaning of the words of the word Navi, what's the connection between the fact that Miriam was a Neviah, or the fact that Miriam was going to now take timbrels and dance with the ladies to thank Hashem? The fact that Miriam took the teuf, the timbrel, and she said Shira, it's not a concept of knowing the future or of knowing concealed matters, nor is it a matter that she was telling words of reproach to the people. It was a natural reaction from the excitement that she felt when she saw the Nes. As Rashi says in this very topic, the Shira of Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moshe saw the Nes, it arose in his heart this desire to sing a Shira, and now she continues, so his heart told him he should sing, and that's what he did. He sang a Shira, so to Yeshua when he saw the Nisim by Yerichai. And so too when the Yidden were blessed with a Be'er that gave them water, they sang a Shira. So it's obviously understood Shega Miriam. So when Miriam saw the Nes, it arose in her heart this excitement to thank Hashem for the beautiful things that happened, and she wanted to sing a Shira. And therefore, after this whole introduction explaining that Miriam as a Neviah does not help us know who she is, and Miriam as a Neviah does not connect directly to the story, because neither of the explanations of Navi actually are relevant to the story that we're talking about over here, because she's singing Shira to Hashem. which is something that comes from the joy of her heart and not from an aspect of being a Navi. And therefore, why is it important for the Pasuk to say that she was a Neviah? And this is what's bothering Rashi. Rashi is bothered by the fact, why does the Pasuk tell us that she was a Neviah if it seems to add nothing to the Hemshech, to the story that's being told here in the Pasuk? And Rashi is going to answer this question, and he's going to say that the reason it says Hanaviah is to answer another question that has not yet been brought up. This question is, why did Miriam go out to sing Shira in front of Moshe Rabbeinu without talking to him about it first? And he's going to explain why this is such a major question, and why, by saying Hanaviah, this question gets answered. Because it's going to tell us that Miriam was such a great Neviah that she did not need rishus from Moshe Rabbeinu. And we're going to see that this Rashi, when he says Heicha Nesnaba Kishhaisa Achais Arain, is not here to explain to us why it says Achais Arain. It's here to explain to us why Miriam went out to sing Shira with the women without talking to Moshe Rabbeinu first. Rashi comes to answer to us. The purpose of the pasuk when it says Hanaviah is not because this event is directly connected to her nevuah. But to tell us that the word Hanaviah is connected to the words that follow it, Achais Aaron, in the pasuk. And Rashi points out, and the Sikha points out, when Rashi says the words Achais Aaron in his Pirush, he's actually quoting the pasuk, as if it was printed in big print, which means in pasuk print, not in Rashi print. But in the middle he mentions his words, meaning to say, sometimes Rashi says a word from the pasuk, translates it, or explains it, and continues into the next Dibra Maschil. It's a flow from one Rashi to the next Rashi. And he creates a flow where he has words from the Pasuk, Rashi's Pirush, and then back to the words of the Pasuk. So Rashi is saying that it says here, Vaitika Chamiriam Hanaviah, and Rashi says, V'hecha Nisnaba Kisha Haisa, and then he says, Achais Aaron, as if he's quoting the words from the Pasuk directly. And what's he trying to say? Hainu sheisnaba kishaisa adayin rak achais Aaron, koidem shenoilad Moshe, that she said nevuah when she was still just the sister of Aaron before Moshe was born. The kavanas hakosov bazei letaretz kusha. And this word Hanaviah, together with the words achais Aaron, are here to answer a question. What question? These psukim earlier said the words that the Yidden had emunah in Hashem and in Moshe, which tells us that the Yidden were already bottled, they already accepted Moshe Rabbeinu as their Moshe Rabbeinu. Earlier in the psukim it tells us that the Eibishter placed Moshe Rabbeinu as an officer to Pharaoh in Pharaoh's court, and even the Mishnah Lamelech would not make a move without Moshe Rabbeinu. Move on. How did Miriam do such a great act of doing Shira with all of the women without finding that she received the Rishus from Moshe Rabbeinu? Very interesting idea. If a person, like a regular person, is going to go and start a Shira without Moshe Rabbeinu initiating it, at least they should ask Rishus from Moshe, who's the Rabbeinu. And yet Miriam goes and does this event, taking tupimum and going out with tupimum and mechailis without asking the shus from Moshe. This is why the pasuk has to say Hanaviah. She was a famous Neviah, a great Neviah. So much so that she said Nevuah when she was still just the sister of Aaron, before Moshe was born. And the Nevuah was, my mother is going to have a child is going to save the Yidden from the Mitzrayim, and because she was such a great Neviah, therefore she was able to say Shira in front of Moshe Rabbeinu, as we will explain in just a moment, how great of a Neviah she was. If we want to describe who Miriam was, we should have said the Neviah, the prophetess, the daughter of Amram. Amram is the father of Moshe and the father of Aaron. But Achais Aaron was of secondary importance to Moshe. So if we weren't going to say Achais Moshe for whatever reason, we should have at least said Bas Amram. From the fact that the Me'achasha of Madgish and Neviah Achais Aaron, since the pasuk says Achais Aaron, which was not the first thing we would think it would say, that the content of the Nevuah, this is how Rashi knows what the Nevuah was, because it says Achais Aaron. Achais Aaron tells us what the Nevuah was about, that it was related to the fact that Miriam was just the sister of Aaron, meaning to say, Kodim Leidas Moshe, before the birth of Moshe. If the purpose was just to tell us that she said Nevuah, then it would have just said the Neviah Meyaz, the known prophetess. We knew about it. We know that she's already a Neviah. The fact that it says Achais Aaron in the pasuk is to tell us that the Toichen Nevuah is important, and it tells us what the Nevuah was. It was a Nevuah that's related to the fact that she was just the sister of Aaron, meaning she did not have a brother Moshe yet. So obviously the Nevuah is about the fact that Moshe is going to be born. And in this, when we discover that she said Nevuah by the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was going to be born, this underscores and emphasizes the greatness of her Nevuah. The Erkol Dargas Moshe and her level and her standing with regards to Moshe. Aleph number 1 is Naba v'Yodam Yikoidim she'asid Moshe Rabban shal Yisrael v'kulam b'teilim elav liyivalit. She said Nevuah and knew early on that Moshe, who was going to become Rabban shal Kol Yisrael, the Rebbe of Klal Yisrael, and everyone was going to become batal to him. She knew before he was born that he was going to be born. Beis, Hisnaba b'inyan she'eni shayich eleh b'yichud. Her Nevuah was not directly related to her. Something that was more relevant to her parents, who were going to have the baby. It wasn't really relevant to her. So the fact that she was saying Nevuah about something that wasn't relevant to her shows us that she was a big Neviah. And Gimel Asi the Imishatele, the fact that she mentions her mother, tells us that Amram and Yocheved were alive. They were present in the world, and yet the Nevuah doesn't come through Amram and Yocheved, it comes through Miriam, which means not only is she saying a Nevuah that's not relevant to her, she's saying a Nevuah that's relevant to someone else who is present in this world and yet wasn't chosen to give over that Nevuah. From this is evident that the level of her Nevuah was great, was very great. This is why the pasuk mentions Neviah and Achais Aaron to tell us that since she was a Neviah who said Nevuah even before Moshe was born about the birth of Moshe, therefore Miriam took the teif biyada. Miriam sang the shira, and all the ladies followed her to sing shira together, because she did not have to ask rishus for Moshe, because of the greatness of her own Nevuah. She was such a great Nevuah in her own right that she did not have to ask Moshe Rabbeinu for the Nevuah. And this is what Rashi is coming to tell us when he says to tell us that if you're bothered by how could Miriam sing Shira in front of Moshe Rabbeinu without Rishus, Hanaviah, Achais Aaron, the pasuk tells us that she was a Neviah, the sister of Aaron. She was so great that she did not have to ask for Rishus. However, we're still left with a question. We still left with a question. The question is going to be, why can the pasuk not suffice by saying Achos Moshe? And it wouldn't just mean that she's the biological sister of Moshe, it would mean that she is of an equal level to Moshe. So if the whole purpose of the pasuk is to tell us how great of a neviah she was, it could have still said Achos Moshe and not Achos Aaron. Since the purpose of the pasuk is to tell us the level of her nevuah is in comparison to Moshe, and therefore we have to know what the nevuah was about. That it was about the birth of Moshe. On the contrary, rather than telling us what the nevuah was, it should have better said that she was the sister of Moshe. Then too we would understand the purpose, that it's trying to tell us the greatness of her nevuah. Because since this event, as we said earlier in the Sikha, is not related to nevuah directly, therefore it must mean that the word hanaviyah, that the word neviah is connected to the words Achos Moshe, which would say, based on our question, and it would tell us even more than Achos Aaron, that when we say that she's a sister of Moshe, she was on this a sister not just biologically, but she was a sister in the level of nevuah. She was an equal to Moshe Rabbeinu. Similar to what Rashi brings in Parshas in Chumash Bereshis, that Shimon and Levi were brothers. Rashi says they were be'etza achas, they were united in their idea, in their plan of hurting, of destroying Shechem. So similarly, brothers or sisters in this case, sister of Moshe, could mean that they were united in nevuah. They were on the same level. They were equals in nevuah. And then parenthetically, the Sikha adds, even though there's a pasuk that says that there will never be another Navi like Moshe. He says clearly that what does it mean there'll never be a Navi like Moshe? There will never be a Navi like Moshe that spoke to Hashem face to face. But with regards to other aspects of nevuah, Adrabah, Hiftiach Moshe promised, Navi mikir b'cha me'achecha, a Navi, a prophet from amongst you, from your brothers, Kol moini like me, Yakim l'cha Hashem l'kecha. The Eibishter will establish for you, which means that there is an idea that there could be an equal to Moshe in nevuah, just not in the idea of panim upanim. So our question is, why can't it say Achos Moshe? Betur neviah, sha'areza bedugmas navi kamayni, shalayasa davar gadol, bizman Moshe mibli l'shalei. One might answer as follows, that if she's just an equal to Moshe, then just like any other prophet who is an equal to Moshe would not have done something like this during Moshe's life without asking Rishus, so too Miriam would not do it without Rishus. So you might answer that the reason it says Achos Moshe, and it does not say Achos Moshe, is because that just puts Miriam on an equal level to Moshe, and not on a greater level than Moshe. And we need Miriam to be on a greater level than Moshe. Says the Sikha, this is a doichak. Doichak means this is not an easily acceptable answer. Why? Number one, since we're not talking about nevuah, it's not about the prophecy itself. In other words, the prophecy is just explaining to us why Miriam could sing Shira. But we're not measuring really the greatness of the nevuah. So therefore, to say that the Achos Moshe, an equal to Moshe, is not good enough, is a doichak. And another reason why it's a doichak, why it's not easily acceptable, all the Yidden said Shira. The only chiddush of Miriam was that the women were also saying Shira. And the women were part of the nest, just like the men were. So the jump from all the men singing Shira to the ladies singing Shira is not that big of a leap that you would have to be such a great neviah that Achos Moshe is not good enough. And therefore, we're still bothered, why does the pasuk say Achos Aaron and not Achos Moshe? And because because we're still bothered by this, L'chein maybe Rashi Pirush Beis, and therefore Rashi brings the second Pirush. Dover acher achos Aaron v'chulu, hainu sheyesh noi oitam, lama mefarish dargas Miriam odem milam achos Aaron. There's another unrelated reason of why the pasuk says achos Aaron and not achos Moshe. The fishim also nafshi election is started nikras al shmoi. Since Miriam was named, since Aaron was Moshe Nefesh for Miriam, therefore she was known by his name. Hainu shekena yukaydin Isa. Everyone knew her as Aaron's sister. Umikivan shenikra shem Aaron. Since she was known as the sister of Aaron, lachin keda kasav achos Aaron. Therefore, the pasuk calls her achos Aaron, which means if you're going to say, why did it say achos Moshe? Says Rashi, I'll bring you another pirush. I'll bring you another explanation. She was known as achos Aaron. Everyone knew that she was the sister of Aaron, because of Aaron standing up for her when she was a Mitzedas. So it's not to tell us anything about the Nevuah, per se. It's more because that's how she was known. And if you remember, one of our questions was, why does Rashi bring the words achos Aaron again when he brings the second Pirush? So this is what he answers this question right now, and tells us that the reason he brings the words achos Aaron again is to tell us that his second Pirush is not answering the main question of why Miriam didn't ask Rishus. That was already answered with the word Hanaviyah, that she was a great Neviah and therefore did not need to ask Rishus. We're only answering why it says achos Aaron and not achos Moshe. And that's why Rashi brings the words achos Aaron again, to tell us that we're focusing the second answer on the specific question, why does it say achos Aaron? Umaskal Rashi Pirush Yasheni B'Tevas Davar Achar achos Aaron, and Rashi brings his second Pirush. Rashi begins his second Pirush with the words achos Aaron, lahadgish, to emphasize she'ein zeh davar acher b'tirutz hakushya eich vatikach Miriam. This is not answering the main question. How did Miriam take the tupim and mechaylus b'fnei Moshe, in front of Moshe, without permission? Ki im rak davar acher b'tevas achos Aaron v'le achos Moshe. Only answering the second question of why it says achos Aaron and not achos Moshe. The answer to the earlier question of why did Miriam go out without Rishus, that was already answered in the first Pirush, that she was a Neviah, and she was a great Neviah who said Nevuah even before Moshe was born, and therefore she did not need to ask Moshe for Rishus. We still have two questions, which means to say on the second Pirush of Rashi, there are two questions. Question one, the story of Vatikach Miriam Hanaviyah happened on the day of Kriyas Yamsuf, on Shvi Shel Pesach, which is 7 days after the Yidden left Mitzrayim. The story of the Tzaras happens much later. After the Yidden are ready by Har Sinai, and the Yidden received the Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu was separating himself from his wife, and Miriam said, why? And to Aaron, and she contracts the Tzaras. So it's hard to understand how the Torah would call it achos Aaron based on an event that hasn't happened yet. Additionally, the whole purpose of the pasuk is to describe the greatness of Miriam. Reminding us that she had tzaras is counterintuitive. It does not tell us the greatness of Miriam, it tells us that Miriam had a frailty. So this is the question that we're going to bring now in the Sikha. According to this Davar Acher, we have a question. Here we're talking about the day of Kriyas Yamsuf. The fact that she was named achos Aaron, and because of that the pasuk says achos Aaron and not achos Moshe mitzad mu'udash ida kam azman achar kach, is based on an event that occurred much later on in time. More importantly, here we should have spoken about the greatness of Miriam. And why would we call her achos Aaron, which is reminding us of her tzaras, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, to tell us how great she was. And therefore, because of these two questions, the first pirush is the primary pirush. Because the main thing we're trying to understand is why Miriam did not have to ask Rishus, and the answer to that is because she was such a great person. And how do we know that? Because she said Nevuah, and she said Nevuah before Moshe was born. That's the main question. You're going to ask me, why did it say achos Aaron and achos Moshe? For that I'll tell you, there's another pshat, nikras al shmoi. But it's not the main pirush because of these last two questions. A, it hasn't happened yet, and B, it is focusing on the opposite of Miriam's greatness. The final question that we need to understand in Rashi is, if everything has to click for the simple child learning Chumash, can a simple child accept that Miriam at the age of 5 would say a nevuah? In other words, when you think of a nevuah, you think of an adult, an accomplished individual. Miriam was 6 years old when Moshe was born. If Miriam is saying prophecy about the birth of Moshe, she was probably around 5. So we having a hard time for the student, for the simple learner of Chumash, to accept that Miriam said nevuah at 5. And the Sikha is going to tell us that that's why Rashi sources the Gemara. That's why Rashi brings the source from the Gemara Masechta Soita that tells us that Miriam was a special child. She says she was a more mature than the other kids her age. And let's see it inside. Seemingly, it doesn't seem logical to follow the simple understanding of the pasuk that Miriam would say nevuah before Moshe was born. She was still so young then. So how could she say nevuah at such a young age? And therefore Rashi says Kedisa B'Soita and sends us to look it up in Soita. V'sham Masha'inkim in Masechta Megillah, and only in Soita and not in Megillah. Omru Razal Lifnei Maimer, before they tell us that the story of Achais Aaron, that Miriam said nevuah earlier on. The Gemara tells us that explaining what it says in the pasuk Vateilecha Alma, that Miriam went to go call Yecheved to nurse Moshe, because none of the Mitzrayos, none of the wet nurses from the Egyptians were successful in nursing him. So she went to get a Jewish wet nurse. So the pasuk says Vateilecha Alma, says the Gemara Melamed Shaholcha Bezrizos Ka'alma, using the word Alma and not Yalda or something like that, which Alma means a more mature girl. The Gemara teaches us that she went with her Zrizos like a mature girl. Move on from this we can derive even though she was young in years, Alma, she had certain mature characteristics, and she was worthy and capable that she could convey a nevuah. So now if we go quickly back to our questions. The first question was, why does Rashi say Vatika, quote the words from the pasuk Vatikach Miriam Neviah? The answer is because the whole question of Rashi is to answer why Miriam and Neviah took the Tupim b'Mchelos without the Shus. Those words are actually what Rashi is trying to answer. The second question was, why does Rashi bring the nevuah of Miriam? Is because it's through that nevuah that we know how great of a prophetess Miriam was. And where does Rashi know this nevuah? Question 3 was, where does Rashi know this from Tzitishal Mikra? And the answer is because it says Achais Aaron and not Bas Amram. Question number 4, why does Rashi tell us to look in the Gemara Masechta Soita? And that's like we just said right now, to make us look at the words Vateilecha Alma, to tell us that Miriam was a mature girl, and therefore it'll be easier for us to accept that she was a Neviah. Question 5 is, why does Rashi say Achais Aaron? This was answered explicitly because Rashi wants to tell us that we're not here to answer the main question of why Miriam and Neviah took Mchelis, but we just want to explain why the pasuk says Achais Aaron. And finally, the last question was, what is the kushya? What is the hardship, the difficulty in each of these pirushim? So in the first pirush, the kushya was that it could have still said Achais Moshe, and we would have known the greatness of Miriam's nevuah anyway. In the second question, the kushya was that if she's being named after Aaron because he stood up for her when she was a Mitziras, number 1, the event hasn't happened yet, and number 2, it's mentioning the opposite of the Maila of Miriam, and we want to focus here on the greatness of Miriam. Now we continue with Yena Shel Torah. Yena Shel Torah, the wine of Torah, is just like wine. You have to bring out the juice from the inside of the grape to be able to enjoy the wine. So too, within Torah, there's many levels, and you have to bring down the secrets of the Torah in order to have a deeper understanding of the Torah. It's often referred to as Yena Shel Torah, the wine of Torah. And in this ois, which is the last ois of the Sikha, there's 2 parts to it. One is a little bit of Hasidic teachings on understanding this pasuk, or this Rashi rather. And 2, a lesson that we could take away from this Rashi and this understanding. The Chassidus is going to point out that the 2 pirushim in Rashi, The first pirush, that Miriam was a great Neviah, and the second pirush is that she was the sister of Aaron because Aaron stood up for her, seemingly are contradictory. One emphasizes the greatness of Miriam, the other emphasizes the dependence of Miriam on Aaron. And we're going to explain that by bringing in the idea that Miriam represents the Sfira of Malchus. Malchus also has these two opposite characteristics. On the other hand, Malchus is mushrish in Atzmus. Malchus reaches Atzmus, which is the highest level of godliness. On the other hand, Malchus is known as Lesla Migar Moklum, that it has nothing of its own. It is only a reflection, it is only a conduit that passes down the light from the higher levels to the lower levels. But of itself, it has nothing. So on the one hand, it's the highest, on the other hand, it's the lowest. And he's going to explain that it's not contradictory characteristics, they're actually complementary characteristics. Meaning to say that because because Malchus has nothing of its own, therefore it can be in a state of bittul, of nullification, of recognizing what it doesn't have, and because of its bittul, therefore it could reach the greatest heights. Similarly, it is because Miriam is achais Aaron, because she recognizes the greatness of Aaron and her dependence on Aaron, therefore she could reach to become the greatest Neviah of her time. Miriam made al Sfiras HaMalchus. Miriam represents the Sfira of Malchus. Ubesfiras HaMalchus made sim onu beis ninyonim. We find with regards to Malchus two levels, two concepts. One, that Sfiras HaMalchus mushreshes ba'atzmos l'mayla mikol HaSfiras. That Malchus is rooted in Atzmos, which is higher than all of the Sfiras. All of the levels of the Sfiras, all of the levels within the Seder HaIshtalshelus. Number two, that Sfiras HaMalchus less than migarma klum, that Sfiras HaMalchus has nothing of its own. Similar to a moon, which the moon only reflects the light of the sun, it has no internal light. But similarly, Malchus has no internal light. It only passes down that which it receives from the Sfiras that come before it. In truth, these two seemingly opposite characteristics are actually interdependent. Because she is in a state of bittul gomer, only receiving from the spheres above it. Therefore, she could feel her source in atzmos. Because of the bittul, because of the les lamigar maklum. Therefore, she could reach Atzmos. Even though the spheres that come before Malchus don't feel their connection to Atzmos because they are busy giving their light to Malchus, since Malchus is only receiving from the levels before it in this point, and therefore it is in a state of bittul, it can therefore detect or realize or feel its source in Atzmos. And this same idea we'll see in Miriam as is alluded in these two Pirushim in Rashi. The first explanation of Rashi tells us the greatness of Miriam. She was a prophet. She was a great prophetess. And she prophesied. And thus revealed and drew down into this world the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. And in the second Pirush, it speaks how she was named after Aaron, and she's bottled to him and of secondary importance to him. And only because of the Mesiras Nefesh of Aaron was he able to accomplish that she should be forgiven for her words. And earlier we explained that even in the second Pirush, we're also trying to tell us the greatness of Miriam. How do we do that? Because that the fact that there are greatnesses, there are qualities in Miriam, which is what we said in the beginning of Rashi, is because of Miriam's bittul to Aaron. Which is the Pirush HaBeis, is because of her bittul to Aaron, who is greater than her. and he says the word Shushvina de Matronisa. Shushvina de Matronisa. Matronisa means a kala, a bride. Shushvina de Matronisa. Shushvina is the shushvin, is the unterführer, is the person who leads the kala to the chuppah. So in the spiritual levels, the kala is malchus, and the shushvin is zah. Zah is the level that raises up malchus to the next level up. So just like zah raises up malchus, so too Aaron raises up Miriam, and therefore Aaron is called Shushvina de Matanisa, the Shushvin of the Kala. So in the first pshat of Rashi, it tells us the greatness of Miriam. In the second pshat of Rashi, it tells us that how does she reach that greatness? Because of what Aaron does for her. And this is the lesson, a unique lesson to the Shei Bnei Yisrael. Although there are many miles in the Shei Bnei Yisrael, that the men do not have, in the cave of the save of Gever, so much so that the Asid Love will see, Begili will see in a revealed way the greatness, the advantage of the nekeva of the female over the male. We call makim, so the females have great milas. We call makim, nevertheless, alei and lodas, it is upon them to know. As Chazal tell us, Ezu isha ksheira, ha'isir etzayin baila, that what makes an isha ksheira? The one who is able to do etzayin baila, to fulfill the will of her husband. The al yedei zadavka to ve'ena lidei gilu yamailis anim tzoyis behen. This brings out the great milas that they have within them. Similar to the fact that they say with regards to giving birth, that even though almost everything goes through the woman and through the body of the woman, nevertheless you need to have the tipa sa'av, you need to have the father who impregnates the woman in order for her to carry the child and give birth. Similarly, in other milas that she has, it is the baila that is able to bring out within her milas. And this is not only talking about those qualities that they receive from their husbands. Even the things, the milas, the qualities that the woman has on her own right, but by being with her husband and being oyser, it's same baila, it brings out those milas in her as well into a gilui. And this is actually alluded to in the Rashi. And this is alluded to in the Rashi. Because we're going to say something very interesting here. We're going to say that Aaron and Miriam have an intrinsic connection. What's their connection? That they both like to bring peace to the world. Aaron was known as a peacemaker. Miriam was known as a midwife. What would she do? She'd bring the baby into the world. The transition of a baby into this world is very tumultuous. And Miriam would calm the baby down and make the right sounds and noises that would calm the baby down. And this is not something she got from Aaron, because the quality of calming a baby down is something that's innate within a woman. Nevertheless, once Aaron saw that she has this quality, he connected with her and brought out within her that great quality. Why did Aaron step up for Miriam? Why was he so intent on helping Miriam? It's because of that Miriam gets named after him. The reason that Aaron feels so connected to Miriam is because of the common goal within them. Aaron's purpose, Aaron's concept, Aaron's defined by his characteristic of Eiv Shalom, V'reidiv Shalom. He loves peace, he pursues peace. He loves the creations of the Eibishter and draws them closer to Torah. She speaks and she woos the child, like the women that try to calm down a crying baby. So because he sees in her this quality of bringing peace to the baby, therefore he is Moshe Nefesh on her, and she's called after him. So from this we have a remez, even those things that the women have, the qualities that they have on their own right. Rashi says, this is the way of the women, that they are the ones who are able and calm the babies down. It is the nature of the woman to nurture and to bring close. Also this we say that Aaron gets credit for it. That she receives this from her husband. So Miriam receives it from Aaron, and in a relationship of a husband and a wife, the baila is able to draw out within her these natural milas that are hers on her own, but through her connection with her husband, it brings it out in a great way. And conversely, we can understand that once she receives these milas from her husband, this ultimately reveals within her all of these qualities on an even greater level in the husband. And she gives back those qualities to her husband. She teaches or passes on these qualities to her husband. In other words, the husband triggers it, if you will. He opens up the ability to be able to reveal that within her, with that which is deeply concealed inside of her. But once she has these milas, she reaches to an even higher level than her husband, and she then gives back some of these milas to her husband. Until it says, this will be revealed for everyone to see the greatness of the woman, as the pasuk says, the woman will surround, will encompass the man, implying that the woman we will see the greatness of the woman over her husband. This will be seen when Mashiach comes, but until that time, even though we don't see it, we must know that it exists, that there's certain milas in the woman that the husband does not have, and the husband can help to bring these milas out into the open, and then we will see the greatness of the woman. Yes,